Let's go over this LeetCode toSum2 input array is sorted in C++. So given a one indexed array of integers, we have numbers right here. It's going to be vector int type. We have an ampersand, so that means we're editing the actual vector, not just a copy of it. It already exists in sorted non-decreasing order. This means ascending order. We want to find two numbers such that they add to this specific target. Let these two numbers be, this is the important part, so pay attention, they need to be numbers at index 1 and numbers at index 2, where 1 is less than or equal to index 1, so index 1 is greater than or equal to 1. Index 1 is less than index 2, and they are less than or equal to our numbers.length. We want to return the indices of these two numbers at these indexes added by 1 as an integer array. And this is what it's going to look like. It's going to have a length of 2. It's a fixed length. So we can create this array first, and then we can go into a for loop where we're going to examine the elements inside of this array and see if they add to our target. It is going to have exactly one solution, at least once in our code. So we don't have to do too much in terms of error checking here. Let's make our vector first off though. This is going to be to store our results. So it's going to be vector of type int. I'm just going to call it result. And for now, we can just set it equal to 0, 0. Two integers. It's going to be a size of 2. Let's do a for loop. So in this for loop, we are going to have our first pointer be equal to 0, and our second pointer be equal to our numbers dot size, because vectors use size. And then we're just going to subtract 1 from it to get the index. We're not going to increment these values inside of our header, but we're going to want to run this as long as our first is less than second. And I get all of this from right here. All of this happens right here. First is going to be the 0th index, and then second is going to start at the back. We know we have to have at least one solution, so what we're going to do is we're going to increment and decrement these in a special way so that we get to our target. Let's go inside of this if statement now. I'm going to make a sum value, and this sum value is going to compare the elements added together at indexes first and index second, because doing this, typing this whole line out multiple times in our conditions is not fun. So it's easier just to make one variable right here. And then once we have this variable, we can easily use it in our if, else if, and whatever statements here. Now, if our sum is equal to our target, well, we've found what we've been looking for, right? It's pretty much it. We're done. So if sum is equal to target, what we can do is set our result values. We're going to have result at index 0 be equal to our first plus 1, and the 1 comes from the added by 1 right here. And then result at index 1 is equal to the second, and then this should also be plus 1 as it wants, added by 1. And then we can break out of here and go to a return statement outside of this for loop. We're going to just return the result. The reason why it's not in this if statement is so I just don't have to code it twice, because you're always going to have a result for a method, and it has to be at the end, or it basically always has to trigger. There's a possibility that this for loop might not trigger if a specific condition is passed in, although it's not going to ask us here, but there always has to be a return basically at the end of your method. So it's just easier to break and then do this here. So that's going to be the if statement if they're equal. Well, what if it's not equal? We can cover that in an else if statement. And this else if statement is going to say if our sum is too big. So if our sum is greater than our target, what's going to happen? Well, if our sum is greater than our target, that means 2 and 15 added together is greater than this. We should subtract the index, go forward 1 from the back. That way we can get a smaller value and see if that is still bigger or smaller than our target. And then we'll just repeat that if it is bigger. So we're just going to do second minus minus. Okay, that's covered, but what if our sum is less than our target? Well, that's fine. If our sum is less than our target, that means this value in the front is too small. So we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to increment our first. And this will allow us to move towards the middle until we find that sweet spot where we can get two elements that equal to our target. Let's try submitting this. We have a compilation error, but that is actually from our sum. So we have character 22 in this. Character 22, I'm assuming, is this. I put number instead of numbers, just a simple mistake on naming. But fixing that, we'll get a 9 milliseconds runtime. Not too bad. We have a memory of also not too bad. Not the worst. Not the best, not the worst. If we run it again, maybe we can get lower than 16. Okay, we got higher. That's going to be it for this LeetCode problem. TwoSum2 input array is sorted. I hope it helped you understand. If you have any question, please leave a comment below. Oh, check that out. We got less than 16 megabytes. Let's go. And we got 3 milliseconds of runtime. Awesome. If you want more LeetCode problems in C++, check out the playlist link below the like button. If you want more Java ones, you can check out our channel.